My presentation is Biblical Principles for a Secular Society. The first thing that I'm going to say is I'm a follower of Jesus. Not everybody is. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own personal decisions, and I would never try and push my beliefs or force my beliefs on anyone. I don't think that's right. But I am here today to show you how things that I found in the Bible can be applied to your everyday life. And I want to thank you in advance for your grace in listening to my presentation. So I want to start off with a quote here from our trainer. People, don't shy away from listening to ideas that are different from others. It's good to hear differing opinions. I believe that. I was so glad that you said it. Thank you for that very much. A work setting is not always the best place for a place that would be expected for these topics to be talked about all the time. So I felt like I was kind of going out on a limb here, but this is something that I'm passionate about. And so the next quote, we have to give ourselves some grace also from our trainer, Grania Redmond. And interestingly enough, I found out that Grania translates to grace. So that was an amazing little fun fact that I found out. We go over three biblical principles today. And the first two facilitate the last one. These principles can help you in things like your career, your marriage, friendships. Really, the possibilities are endless. So I spent most of my life not knowing anything about any of these three principles. I've only learned some about these three principles in the last couple of years, and it's completely changed every part of my life. It's changed myself, my family. It's changed my job performance, my outlook on life in general. It's changed me completely. So those three principles are grace, forgiveness, and confession. And, the first two, you could say, well, those are, okay, yeah, those are no-brainers. Grace and forgiveness can be used in everyday life, even if you're not a believer. Maybe not confession so much, but I'm here today to illustrate how confession also helps a lot. So first we want to define what is grace. A lot of times grace and forgiveness are confused. You walk by and you knock over my drink, well, I'm going to give you some grace on that. Or, you said something to me and I didn't like it, well, I'm going to give you some grace on that. But really, grace just means unearned, unmerited, undeserved favor. And for me, as a believer, I can finish that off and say from God. God has given me unearned, unmerited, undeserved favor. Favor that I didn't have to do anything to get. He just says, okay, this is just for you for no reason. Forgiveness is easy when we choose grace, because when we're forgiven and we didn't deserve it, it's easier for us to forgive others. We can extend grace to you. When you walk by and kicked me in the shins a minute ago, she didn't. Maybe she will after this.
You're good.
I can employ grace and choose to give her forgiveness for no reason, just because she's human too, and I know I've been forgiven of a lot of things in my life, a lot worse than kicking somebody in the shins. So, why is forgiveness important? If we don't forgive, how can we expect to be forgiven? But how do we forget? I've heard people often say, well, I might forgive them, but I'll never forget it. How do you get around that? Well, you're never going to forgive it. You're not supposed to forgive it. If she kicked me in the shins every day for 3 days when I walk by her, I'm going to forgive her for that. I'm going to start walking behind her because I'm going to remember that. So we're not supposed to forget it. But forgiveness is a choice. A lot of people think it's a feeling. Like, in my opinion, I think love is also a choice. For me, love, forgiveness, either one of those aren't feelings, they're choices. I can choose to love you or I can choose not to. My life is easier if I can choose to love you and forgive you and give you grace. Forgiveness sets us free, because just think about it. If you don't forgive somebody, you're walking around with weight on your back. It affects your posture, your physical posture. You walk with more of a slump. You feel the physical weight. You don't know what it is. You flip that guy off in traffic because of some deep-seated issue from when you were a child that you've never gotten over because you've never dealt with it, and it constantly causes you to pop off and go off on people. You don't know that. So you're flipping somebody off on traffic or in traffic because maybe you were abused in some way as a child and you've never addressed it. Forgiveness sets us free. When we choose to forgive, we release that weight from ourselves. So, confession and the 3%. I don't know if this is a widely known concept, but it's a concept that I've learned about in my men's group at the church that I attend. And the concept of the 3% just states that most people will share with you 97% of who they really are. 97% of who they really are, but they'll keep that other 3%, they'll never share it with anyone, they'll take it to the grave. And the enemy, or as a believer, as I will say, the enemy, I call the devil, or whoever works for him, the enemy, I just use a general term. But the enemy will use lies about your 3%. To say, if everyone knew what you did, they wouldn't look at you the same. If they knew what you said, nobody would love you. You're not worthy of love. Those are lies. Those are lies from the enemy. Because the enemy doesn't want you to tell that 3%. He doesn't want you to get the freedom, because once you tell that 3%, then he can't lie to you anymore. He can't tell you you're not good enough. He can't tell you she's not going to love you anymore because you told her and she still loves you. So the 3% a lot of times is left unaddressed. People do take it to their graves. They never find the freedom in it. Most people's biggest fear isn't necessarily public speaking, or even death. It's the thought of being fully known and not fully loved. What are they going to think of me? And where I get this from as a believer is James 5:16. Confess your sins one to another and pray for one another so that you may be healed, because the prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. Who in your life could use some grace? I'm sure every person in this room can think of somebody who deserves your grace for no reason. Who in your life is waiting for your forgiveness? Who have you not forgiven? It's weighing you down. What's it doing to them too? So when you think about it from both sides, it damages both sides. And who are you waiting on to forgive you? What is that 3% of yourself that you keep hidden from the rest of the world? Tell someone. This last weekend, I had the honor of attending a men's retreat for my church. And I had the honor of speaking to 150 men. And I gave my testimony, and I told these men the deepest, darkest, the rawest parts of me. Things that I didn't think I would ever tell anybody, especially 150 people. It was difficult. I told them that 5% of you in this room are not going to be able, or potentially not going to be able to accept what I have to say, but I'm hoping that there's a lot more than 5% of you that can benefit from my story and will find the courage from that to tell somebody their story. Because who's waiting on your healing? Maybe she has a problem and you have the same problem, and you can't tell anybody, but she tells you. And then when she gets done telling you, you say, wow, I have the same exact issue in my life. Since you have told me, I can tell her. And then she tells her, she tells him, and it goes on from there. It's a domino effect of healing. And again, like I said, I don't know how many believers are in this room. I don't know how many non-believers there are. It doesn't matter. These things, these principles apply whether you're a believer or not. But I would be lying if I didn't tell you that if there is a non-believer in this room, I'm trying to trick you to go look this stuff up for yourself. So again, who's waiting on your healing? I've got my contact information here, just in case. I'm no expert, but I do read a lot, I study a lot, I spend time in the community. And so if there's anybody that has any questions that they can't ask me face to face, or maybe it's a question that you don't know about yet, you can call me, text me, that's my cell phone number. I've also got my email address there, and I've got a Facebook page where I do a lot of kind of stuff like this, a lot of just amateur videos of myself speaking about stuff like this, stuff that probably most people don't want to hear, but you know, I thought the internet is forever, so maybe someday, 50 years from now, somebody will stumble across something that will make a difference in their life. So contact me if you need anything further on that. And I just want to conclude this by saying thank you all for giving me grace, listening to this presentation, whether it's for you or not. I appreciate your time. Thank you.